Can we show you how to break into the luxury market? For most wedding photographers and filmmakers, the business side of running a business doesn't come naturally, but we learned 3 crucial lessons that have led us to doubling and tripling our prices, booking weddings in the luxury market consistently over $10,000 each, allowing us to earn more money while working half the amount that we used to. And now we want to share those lessons with you in our upcoming live 3-day free workshop. We can't wait to share all the tips, the strategies, and the practices that have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue. And here's the best part. It's going to work no matter what stage of business you're in. So you can register now at thelevelupco.com/workshop, and we're going to be cheering to your success in no time.
Hey friends, and welcome to another episode of the Level Up Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Petrunovich, joined as always by my co-host, Kelly Gilster.
Hey guys, how are you? We are, sitting in August right now, almost mid-August. Taylor, big week for you. Your kids went back to school.
You guys, I'm free. Just kidding. I love having my kids home. They're so much fun, but there's just a lot to be said for getting back in the swing of things and being able to kind of, in a very uninterrupted way, go about my workday. We'll say it's a little bit more efficient, but I know yours go back really soon, but you've had, yours are a little bit younger than mine, so you'll have had a little bit more childcare throughout the summer. We're waiting on the school schedule, obviously, but you do have a newborn though, so that's its own set of challenges.
Yeah, it is. They go away and then we could have a little bit of help. People always ask us, you guys, if you're a listener, and you wonder how Taylor and I do it with now a combined 6 children. We don't do it alone. That's the biggest thing. We don't do it alone. We have help that we've set up for ourselves. And I'm still kind of my baby's only just turned 3 months old. So we're still kind of in that, coming out of that newborn season and now into okay, let's get things going. Let's get him set up with some childcare. So it has been a juggle this summer, but it's been great. We've had a great summer and my oldest goes into kindergarten in about a week and a half.
Oh, so fun. It's like so many milestones. It's so much fun. Milestones in kids, milestones in family, and milestones in business. Is that a segue that we can use? Because you guys, we were so excited. If you have been joining us the last few weeks, you'll know that we were ramping up to a big workshop, which is currently underway. It's called Break into the Luxury Market. But that also means that doors are officially open to the Luxury Mastermind for fall of 2024. Doors are open. You can go to thelevelupco.com/mastermind. There is a new URL, which we are excited to share. With a whole new page if you want to go check it out, just to take a little look. But we are so excited. We have had now well over 100 filmmakers and photographers over the last little over a year go through our program, and we have seen some really huge transformations. People doubling, tripling, quadrupling their prices, going from charging $2,000 to over $10,000, everything under the sun, you name it, our students have done it, and we couldn't be more proud. And they're true testaments to following a proven strategy, you guys. You do not have to do it alone. You do not have to try to reinvent the wheel or figure out yourselves. You can simply follow a formula, follow a recipe for your business, and see success on the other end. So we would love to have you join us. We start on September 10th. It will be a 12-week live coaching period along with a bunch of other amazing content. But if you've been thinking about joining, you've been listening to this podcast for a while, or maybe even you just found us and this is the first time you've heard about it, please go check it out. Again, thelevelupco.com/mastermind. And if you have any questions, please shoot us a DM or an email. We would love to chat, help you decide if it's a good decision for you, where you're currently at in your business and what your goals are. We're at The Level Up Co on Instagram, and you can shoot us an email at hello@thelevelupco.com. Wow, that was a lot of information for you. That will be in the show notes. Sorry, guys. If you're driving, you're like, oh no, hold on. Let me pull over and take notes. But Kelly, I'm just so excited, as you can tell.
I'm so excited. This is like our Super Bowl that we get to launch twice a year, and it is so rewarding. It is just such a joy to be able to give our step-by-step system and framework to filmmakers and photographers who are just ready to take their business to the next level and see real success in a very short amount of time. We've had students go through our program who started off charging $3,000 that very quickly excelled to charging $10,000 consistently on repeat. It's incredible. And one of our Shining Star students from our spring mastermind is who we're talking to today. So Carl Miller, who is a filmmaker turned photographer, kind of transitioning. I love that he's sharing his stepping stones to going from charging $5,000 to $15,000 over the course of about a year. And that's so amazing. That literally could be you too. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, how am I going to get to the next level? Listen to this episode and also head over to thelevelofcode.com/mastermind because it could just be your best year yet.
This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petrinovich.
And I'm Kelly Gilster of 618 Studios.
And we are on a mission to help wedding filmmakers and photographers level up their businesses so you can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here.
Well, hey, Carl, we are so excited to bring you onto the podcast today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Carl, we are so excited to chat with you because you were just such a joy inside of our latest mastermind group. You always asked the best questions. Taylor and I always would walk away from sessions and say, man, Carl, he just gets it. He asks the best questions, the questions that maybe people are too afraid to ask or should be asking. And I feel like you nailed it every single time. Can you also just kind of give the listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do, where you live, all those good things?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you for the compliment. So I started weddings in 2011, shot my first one. So origin story is probably comparable to just about everybody who might be listening to this. First wedding, 2011. And even though I'm a photographer now, I started as a videographer. And so we can touch on that. That might be interesting. But 2011 started, went full time, 2015. Around 2018, I started also photographing weddings professionally. And in 2022, I kind of made the switch to be mainly a photographer. Along that journey, I've moved multiple times. So I started my business in Arizona, moved to Kentucky for what I thought would be 1, maybe 2 years, which turned into 4 years. And now I am in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Amazing. How has it been kind of building your business while shifting to different regions of the country?
Oh, it's hard. It's definitely hard. So I'm probably the worst person to give advice about how to establish your business when you move because I think I did a terrible job at it. So maybe it's advice in the sense of don't do what I did. I gave myself permission to be lazy is what I did when I moved. I used it as an excuse not to try. Like I'm being so candid and honest about it. Moving somewhere, if you're going to be there, if you think you're going to be there for a year or two, like it's kind of hard to want to build really deep relationships with people. Like you just say, I'm leaving soon, like whatever, like I'm just going to be on cruise control. So don't do that. I can say that if you're a photographer or a filmmaker, like you're in the perfect industry to move. The perfect industry to move. Like at a certain point, nobody really cares if you're local, and honestly, and luxury space, it almost kind of helps you a little bit. Like if you're flying somebody in for the wedding, there's an air of sort of not prominence, but like it feels a little bit more special. And I think what did help me though is I just accidentally did make some friendships with planners just by sheer luck. And I have maintained those when I've moved. So, when I lived in Arizona, I had planners who still refer me there. When I lived in Kentucky, I still have planners who still refer me there. So I maintain those relationships enough that I still go back and serve weddings there. So, the 8 weddings I have coming up next year, I think 2 or 3 of them are in Kentucky, and then I have another 1 or 2 in Arizona. And it really helps me book out my full year. And so if you are moving, if you have a spouse who has a career who moves around or whatever, see if you can convince them to move to a different climate. So Arizona's wedding season is like, October through March, whereas here in Pennsylvania, nothing gets started until like May, and it goes through May through like late September into October. So that being said, I think, I have been doing this for more than 10 years, and, comparing myself to other people who are ahead of me quicker, I think they were smarter in how they approach things, and not to provide excuses for myself or anything like that. But I think by moving, I kind of let myself be on cruise control, to be upfront and candid with you guys. It was just, okay, I'm going someplace for a year, maybe 2. Well, great. Like the first year I'm flying back to Arizona because, I booked a year in advance. So I'm not really even in the state I'm currently living in, or at least working there. And so I was kind of on cruise control. And I wish I would have not been on cruise control. I wish I would have known a lot of things that I know now, thanks to you too. But now that I'm in Pittsburgh, I'm definitely putting down roots, and it's nice to kind of see the fruit of that. In college, going to the gym, I had a buddy, I was a swimmer and I used to hate leg day, and he had a saying like, Carl, you can't fire a cannon from a canoe. And similarly with, I think, a business, if you know your business is a tree and you want to grow towards the sky and these large limbs and stuff, at least I kind of needed deep roots to do that. So been in Pittsburgh since 2020, and I feel those roots kind of growing deep. So it's exciting.
I love that. Yeah, it's so important to, nurture the growth of the trees of our business and plant deep roots, and sow the seeds of the hard work that we're putting in behind the scenes. Now, you kind of had said like you felt like other people who had gotten ahead of you were smarter in things. What were some areas that you felt like they did better now, looking back at that you recognize?
No, that's a great question. So I consider myself an extroverted introvert, and I purposely put blinders on to the wedding industry as a whole. I kind of put my head down. I was like, I'm going to care about 2 things. I'm going to care about my work. I want to be proud of my work. I want my couples to be elated by it, and then I want to focus on the experience that they have working with me. So like, I really just wanted to hone on those 2 things, and it worked. Like, I was in a $4,000 to $5,000 price range, and doing 20 weddings a year, and it was fine for the time that I was doing it. But I found over time, I started noticing things. Every year I'd have like 1 or 2 weddings that were obviously more higher end, more luxury than the rest, and I felt like an outsider. And I was like, well, what are all these people doing that I'm not doing? And it's like, oh, they are making friends in the industry. They're networking. They are being extroverted. All these things that I thought I didn't need to do, I think, because of my own insecurities of being like the idea of going to a networking event is like the most traumatizing idea I can imagine. So it was easy to just, I'm just not going to do that. And so I think, I was young and gave myself those excuses, but now that I'm kind of older and different season of life, I'm like excited to enter that space and see what I can accomplish in that space.
Yeah, I think I don't know about the photo side quite as much with this, but I know in the video world specifically, so many of us are wrapped up in the art of things and doing things our way. And we're so like tunnel visioned on just a few different things that I think we let a lot of things live outside of that scope of awareness. And like you said, you kind of ignore those things on purpose. Like there's like a semi-awareness, but whatever the opposite of a desire is, like an undesire to even pay attention to those things. I think people feel a little intimidated, overwhelmed, and almost like this sense of like pride of like, I can do it my way alone. When you really just don't need to, because I mean, you said at that time in business, you were sitting around that 4,000 to 5,000 mark. So let's fast forward a few years. So sitting here in 2024, how do things look for you now?
They look great. I'm super happy with where I'm at. I start at 10,000 now. Going into 2025, I have 8 weddings booked already. Goal is like anywhere between 10 to 15. I'm averaging, I think, about 15 right now.
Wow.
I mean,
Amazing.
but that is totally, it's skewed. Okay, so here's the fine print. Here's under the hood.
Okay.
Earlier this year, I started around 7. And even though I'm a photographer, video is kind of an off menu item. And so I do have weddings next year that are both photo and video. So that's definitely skewing things for sure. But the most recent wedding I booked, it was 15,000 for rehearsal and wedding day photo only. So I'm like really stoked with where I'm at. It's definitely exciting, like super exciting. And so I just want to make sure I capitalize on that. And I'm being way more intentional in everything that I do in ways that I wasn't previously to this point. So.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk about this for a second because I think we live in this world where the general narrative is diversify. Put your, have more buckets out there capturing revenue, when in the luxury space, that's generally not the best way to go about that. So can we talk about this transition that you have been undergoing for the past couple of years of going from video to photo and video to maybe narrowing it down to only photo, because you said that video is kind of like an off menu item. And I like the way you're approaching things, because I think that a lot of people think it needs to be this like automatic switch where it goes from all of this to all of this. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm like using hand gestures, guys. Sorry. So how is that looking for you? You're like slowly phasing things out, or what are the details there?
Yeah, I think I'm being cautious with how I approach it, because video is what got me to where I am. I'm thinking of the highest end weddings I've done in the last 12 months, and I was the videographer on those weddings. And that's kind of the impetus to finding you guys' podcast and trying to learn more about these beautiful, amazing luxury weddings that I didn't know anything about. Because I was working with photographers who are in that space. So like this February, I did one in the Bahamas with Caroline Lima. I don't think Lima is her last name, but like, I love that woman. She was so open and like candid, answering all my questions over our vendor meal. And so that was sort of the spark that showed me that I could be doing things a little bit differently and running a better business and career. So yes, I'm a photographer first. That's where my passion is at. Like, I do care about both mediums. I know what both mediums need. I kind of have a unique insight into that. When I do both, it's like a team of 4, and I'm kind of coordinating, directing the day, and there's some efficiencies there. So I know videographers, you guys have to load all these tripods in and out every time there's a venue change. So, if I'm photographing a wedding, I can easily take the lav mic and go hook up a priest or the groom while my team is setting up for C cams, B cams, that kind of stuff. So knowing that, but I think moving forward for how I present myself and what I want to focus on, because people want a specialty, people want somebody who's focused on one thing. And I realizing that, and, even just kind of thinking out loud and talking to you guys about it, I think eventually I will phase out video. But right now, if you act fast, you can maybe get both.
I think that's so great to hear, because we've, earlier this spring, we brought on several guests who we kind of dubbed our all-star series. So it is photographers, videographers, and planners who are kind of sitting at the top of the industry. And if you're new to the podcast, scroll back like 15 episodes and go give those a listen, because they're really great. But what we were hearing a lot from our community is, that's so inspiring and so wonderful, but I would love to hear more from people who are maybe a little bit more in the trenches of their business and who are in the process of phasing new things in, phasing old things out, and things like that. So I think it's really great to kind of hear about the actual journey while it's happening. And a lot of people, of course, only can see what's happening on social media. We only put out there what we want people to see. So a lot of these behind the scenes things are unspoken. A lot of people, maybe if they're making similar choices to you, Carl, they feel very alone. So I feel like conversations like this help make it feel more normalized, and like people, like, you're okay. If you're doing this too, it is the norm. Don't compare yourself to what you see on social media, because it's a highlight reel, right? So this is what it looks like to be in the trenches, is this kind of slow phasing things in, phasing things out.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I think like taking the blinders off to the luxury space has given me this amazing sense of perspective and like calm. Candidly, a
Yes.
couple of years ago, I'm thinking about, okay, when I'm 45, when I'm 50, like, can I really still be doing weddings? Um, but that was at the price point I was. But at the luxury level, it's like, oh yeah, like I could easily be doing weddings at 45
Yes.
and 50. Like it's not even a question. So, and I'm in no rush to get there, you know? So that sort of timetable just stretching out has given me has given me the ability to give myself permission to say, let go. Hey, like when things fall into place is when they fall into place. That doesn't mean I'm not ambitious. I'm not chasing things. I don't have these goals. But if I don't reach them in this year or next year or in 5 years, like I'm okay with that. Like it's just a really exciting journey to be like the bride itself is rewarding for me. And so I'm just thankful that I'm here with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all about the journey. Like that's literally what creates our careers is while we're doing it, it's not looking back on the 20 years we spent in the industry when we're 75. You know what I mean? This is what it's about and enjoying yourself along the way. We don't get into this industry or entrepreneurship for the same reasons that maybe somebody who works a 9 to 5 job would. There's deeper reasons, and in making sure that those things are fulfilling to us. And for a lot of people, it is setting goals and achieving those goals and growth. And those things empower us as humans. At least that's me. I don't know. Maybe everyone else is shaking their head. They're like, no, but that's what makes me feel fulfilled. Yeah.
No, I think that's so great to have a sense of calm about your business. And I very much experienced the same thing as you, Carl, where I got into the industry very young, at very much a starting line, start shooting my first wedding for $300 and $500 and all that stuff. And I was 21 years old. And I was working alongside fellow really new entrepreneurs in the wedding space. And we were all really young. And it was hard to see past that in being like, can I be 40 years old and still shooting weddings? And that possibility never looked like it would be something that would be possible, right? Or like that thought was something that wouldn't be possible. And it was just because I hadn't expanded into other tiers of the market where it is super normal to be 40 and 50 and still shooting weddings and thriving in their businesses and really being at like the height of your career in that time. Because the thing is that those who are consistently working at the luxury level have lots of experience under their belt, years of experience, and like they're really in it. They're not going to be a business that just fizzles out or burns out after that 5 to 7 year mark. They've been in business and they've created those deep roots in order to stretch their branches into those higher levels of the market. So I love hearing that now you're kind of entering this season of just like welcoming abundance and at a pace that is sustainable for the growth of your business. That's really awesome. Instead of just in this scarcity mindset of like, oh my gosh, I'm aging out of this industry. I need to shoot 40 weddings a year to try to just leverage the limited amount of time I have. Like now you're like, hey, like this can keep going. Like the ball can keep rolling and keep snowballing into something bigger than I ever imagined it could be.
Totally. And it kind of illustrates, I think, so after Mastermind, ideal clients, ideal weddings, who I'm targeting, who the planners are I want to work with, like a brand refresh, all these things I've been letting percolate way longer than I normally would. So I'm the type who will be up till like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., like perfecting stupid CSS code on a website because I don't know, I make bad decisions. But I've resisted the urge to just floor the gas on what I want to do with how I'm presenting myself, and I'm letting it sit. I have a lot of amazing weddings this year, so I'm kind of still gathering more data. Like I'm giving myself permission to say, okay, like no, let's collect it. Like who really are the ideal weddings that I want to associate myself with? Like who are the planners who I think have the same values that I do, and whose aesthetic I bring to the table they'll like. So I'm being way more intentional with everything, and I think that intentionality it does slow the pace. But then again, that perspective, that sense of calm, I think is necessary for me to sustain that, because usually it'd be antsy and just chomping at the bit to kind of floor the gas pedal usually.
Yeah. That's great. I remember kind of getting to that point in my business too and getting really, really picky. And the reality was that when I entered that year and I looked ahead at the weddings that were going to be true portfolio pieces for me, I was like, okay, I'm really only going to show like 3 weddings this year, 4 weddings this year, because they were the only ones that aligned with the direction that I wanted to go. And that was a huge shift than when I used to show every single wedding or even half of all the weddings that I did. And so it can be scary thinking that like, are people going to know that I'm still working or what is this going to do? But I can say that it completely catapulted my business. And Taylor and I love sharing all of the strategies to be able to do that when you have a year similar where you want to really present your brand in a whole new way after a refresh or a rebrand. Carl, I have to say, before starting Mastermind, and if you're a listener and you're thinking about, Mastermind for this upcoming fall, we would love to have you. But one of the things is that when someone is inquiring about Mastermind or they're really considering it, Taylor and I are always looking at people's brands to see if they are a good candidate. We really want photographers and filmmakers that we know that we can truly help. And you kind of have to be at a certain point in your business to be able to see the fruits of all of our education over those 12 weeks. But when we looked at your brand, Carl, Taylor and I did say to ourselves, like, he's almost there. Like, we don't know how much we can really help him. And so there was like a slight hesitancy from us on like, I know he wants to join and we want this to be really good for him, but he has a really great brand already. What was it about Mastermind? Was it the inner workings of your business that was transformational? Was it more of the outer workings? Walk us through like your journey within that and making that choice and coming out on the other side.
So for me, it was opening my eyes to information in the space that I just was completely oblivious to. Like I said, I had blinders on. I had never gone to a wedding networking event. I had never done a workshop. Like I never had done a styled shoot. Like I was so like just narrow in my own lane. And that was fine for the time. But so joining Mastermind, I did, like everything you guys were saying was resonating with me. And, to carry on from what you just shared about portfolio pieces, it was a sense of pride that I posted every single wedding I ever shot. Like I remember, there was a wedding where I was like hesitant to post it, but I was like, no, I have to. Like it was almost like a value or principle I had where I had to post it. And in the group, and maybe it was before the group. No, I think it was one of the mastermind classes on branding and whatnot. You guys were explaining how like, your business and your brand is different from who you are. Like doing or making smart decisions for your business is not like a reflection of who you are as a person. You're running a business. And so that was certainly freeing. But as far as I definitely feel I got my value out of Mastermind 150%. But yeah, I would say to get the value out, you kind of have to be, I think you need to know the craft. I think you need to have solid work. Because ultimately it does come back to the work. Like if you're making all these moving strategies and the work's just not there, you're not going to see the ROI. But yeah, I think if you're charging like $5,000, it's like an easy yes to do.
Yeah, if you've already gotten to that point of success, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there is so much great education in that year 1, in that year 0, in that year 2, 3, things like that. But there is a shift that's going to occur where your talent is only going to get you to a certain level. And then you need to back it up with smart business practices, the brand that, is going to cultivate and bring those, high-end clients into your orbit. And not everybody has the understanding about what that takes. And so I'm so happy to hear that you got, 150% out of Mastermind. It was such a joy to have you. And yeah, it feels really good to know that, we're helping people create, legacies in their businesses.
So prior to this year, what I thought a good photographer does and like working with planners was I respond to the emails in, 48 to 72 hours. And I don't screw up on wedding day. Like the end. Like that was That was the bar that I was operating at. So things I've implemented now, I am asking planners what they need from me to help make the event a success. Like, what is important to them? Like, what would they be over the moon about to have in their portfolio, or what should I focus on? Anything I can do to help make your job easier. I'm sending them teasers on time. I'm sending them galleries on time. I would not send wedding galleries to planners regularly. I would, if I remembered, but I was so terrible. Like, I was so focused on the couple and the client at the expense of building relationships with planners. But you can walk and you can chew gum at the same time. And so that's what I'm doing now. And I remember telling friends who have businesses, they're telling me about, they have their 15 clients and every year they renew their contract. And I'm, oh, it must be great to have repeat customers. But you guys really preach, your client or your wedding planners are your repeat customers. And so I want to build those relationships. So those are some things I'm doing. When it comes to Instagram, I'm curating what I post. I'm not just trying to appeal to couples anymore. I'm trying to appeal to planners as well. And I've removed a lot from my website. I felt like I had a lot of stuff on there. And it was always selling to the couples. There are some couples who will hire me at a high end price point who then hire a planner later. So like those people exist. So I would caution somebody from just saying, oh, well, I don't need to talk to couples at all. I'm just going to talk to planners. I think that's going too far. I think there's a balance you have to find. And so that's what I hope I've found so far, and just want to keep capitalizing on that. But I have a refresh in the works. And it really is just trying to narrow down on, do I want to appeal to my ideal planner, or do I want to appeal to my ideal client or ideal weddings? So like my ideal client are overly educated, hyper intelligent, like working professionals, like doctors, lawyers, private equity. But like I've had great weddings with professional athletes and artists and entrepreneurs, people who just totally weren't on my radar. And I think that's something I've learned too, is that even though you have an ideal client, like you're not going to get 100% of weddings. Maybe you'll be lucky you have 50% of your weddings are your ideal client or your ideal wedding. And just having that knowledge that not everyone's going to be like the perfect one is something to come to terms with and be okay with.
Yeah, it takes a lot more. It takes so much. I think people neglect to see how much outside of your work, of course, your work needs to be the foundation. We've already established that, but literally so much compiles to make a successful business. It's like a pyramid. If you guys are in our Break into the Luxury Market workshop, which is like literally happening right now, we're talking about the concept of like a pyramid, and they're basically the building blocks that you need to have in place in order to scale to the luxury market. So that concept will sound familiar with you if you are listening to this. But it's truly a pyramid of like so many bricks laid to create success, to springboard you, Carl, from charging $5,000 to $15,000 next year on average, right? Like all of these pieces need to be in place. And so many people, I think, rest on their work and like try to say like that my work speaks for itself. That's a common phrase we hear when it does, to a point, right?
Yeah, I mean, totally to a point. You hit that ceiling pretty, not quickly. I mean, obviously depends on your work, but who it's important. It's key. You want to be good to work with. You want to be a team player. You want to pick up more slack than you were previously if you want to make a good impression. Like all these little things you can be doing to be fantastic to work with pays huge, huge dividends. And again, like when I was in the shower telling myself how dumb I was, like those were the dots I wasn't connecting. So it's nice to have those dots kind of connected a little bit better now.
Amazing. What are you most excited for now in the year ahead, that you have all of this new knowledge under your belt? You have a whole new strategy that you are taking into 2025. It sounds like you're just a calmer business owner. You're a more confident business owner. But, what are some like 3 key things that you're most excited about for the next year?
So one thing I don't know if it's excited versus it's what I'm working on. So one thing I'm working on is being able to present myself in a way that kind of shows the depth of the work I create. So I think photographers right now, what's in vogue is these sort of off the cuff, like photojournalistic, kind of not perfect, kind of messy photos. But I know every photographer in their gallery, they have the prettier photos, they have the post family photos. We're trying to create a gallery that mom's going to like and grandma's going to like and the planner's going to like. So all these things, and what we choose to curate and focus on is so paramount in who we are and how people see us and our brand. And I think even people at the top kind of struggle with it. Like, okay, well, what am I going to post? What am I going to show? What does this say about me as an artist? So I am kind of excited to hopefully get a better grasp at that, to get better at that, to get more confident at that. Another one is I am excited to put on my dancing shoes and mingle with people and make friends. That's really excited. I'm going to engage in December of 2025, so I'm pretty stoked about that.
Are you coming to Santa Barbara?
I am. Are you guys
Well,
going?
We are going to be there too.
Woohoo! Okay, perfect. All right. Well, I already
Fun.
know 2 people minimum who are there, so that alleviates a lot of the nervous energy about it. But that'll be fantastic. So super excited about that, to kind of meet people and be known, and just have friends who are on the same page, and then kind of like, I don't know, you said goals, but I'm kind of maybe changing your question into things I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is like, I want to be the dumbest person in the room at these weddings. Like, I want to work with just super competent people. I think coming up from a lower end space, you see people dropping the ball, you see mistakes, and it just gets tiresome after a while. Like, I want to be nervous to work with people because they're that good. Like, I'm excited to be in that kind of situation. So I hope that answers your question.
I love that. I love that you said, I want to be nervous to work with people because they're so good, because that is really when you know that you're in a great place to propel your business forward, and you're not sitting in that season of complacency or confidence or comfort, that you are ready to push yourself and that you're open to feeling that, it's kind of the same thing on like when you start working out again and you like the feeling of feeling sore again, and it keeps you going. It's kind of similar to that. I feel like, you get one of those weddings that really pushes you and makes you be better alongside a really core group of event professionals. And there's really nothing better than being alongside that and learning in that way.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Super, super excited.
Well, Carl, it's been so great talking to you. I am really going to miss you not being in our mastermind program and seeing your face. You were always so good about showing up either in your car driving or you were back in your office. You always made a way to show up and make the most of our time together. And it's so rewarding, and I'm so happy for you that you have just seen such success in your business and that you have such a great, career ahead. We're excited to see where you take it. For those who are listening that want to find you, where can they find you online?
On Instagram, I'm at carl.s.miller, and my website is csmweddings.com. Please follow along. Always like having new friends.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Carl.
Thank you for joining us in today's conversation. Please help us reach more filmmakers and photographers like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it to social media. And don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.